Wait, hold on.
Get it? Oh, yeah.
8 legs, 2 fangs, and an attitude. Attitude. You got your fucking attitude. Thank you. Got the singing out of the way early.
What you done to me? Your fucking attitude. No? Nothing?
This is Slashers?
Yeah.
Can we talk about this? I have desperately wanted, and I have offered our good friend Robbie of Kyle Tricola and the Strangers to record this. Tell me what you think.
Go for
Have
it.
you ever heard of the song Hate Breeders by the Misfits?
How does it go?
Hate breeders, whoa.
I should have known that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, have you heard the
So I really wanted to do a parody song for the intro for this show where it would be
Slashers Pod.
Whoa.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So if you want to beat Robbie to it, please, by all means, record that, and we'll stop doing the hidden tracks and everything. So, gentlemen, this week is Arachnophobia. Are either of you arachnophobic?
No, I don't feel like it until I watch this movie.
Right. This turns
it
up for sure.
Yeah, it cranks it up a little bit. I feel like arachnus scale. I don't know. I guess that's the thing. I'm probably like a 4.5, 5. But after watching it for at least the next couple days, it's like a 7.
Okay. I'm like a 1. I used to have like a tarantula and play with it and stuff. So
I'm really cool if I'm in control. When one like appears on my neck, I'm like, get the fuck off of me, and I have to kill it. But
in more ways than one,
dude. So check this out. I have an amusing anecdote. Are you ready for this? I bought hedge trimmers because I'm a dad. You know, like we do. We go over to Home Depot. I blow my wad at Home Depot, and I got some hedge trimmers. And as I was driving home, they were pointed up, you know, and I was like, no, I've seen Final Destination. You're not going to fool me. So I turn them pointing the pointy end down, okay? Then I get home. And you know I have the fancy gate that keeps my neighbors the fuck away from me. And
the gym turn.
Yeah. Jim was like, there's a gate. I'm like, yes, you open the gate. But it's a gate. Gates mean stay on the other side.
He's all sitting there waving at it, doing all kinds of things.
Jim does the old I Dream of Jeannie. Sim sim salabim. Oh wait, that's Johnny Quest, right? I don't know. But there's a brown widow in my gate that so a lot of them like to crawl into my mailbox, which is affixed to my gate, and then they stay in there. It's really warm.
I was completely unaware of this.
Oh yeah?
The fuck?
Brown widows go in there all the time.
Oh, and that is scary.
Though that's like the one place where I consistently kill spiders is because I don't want my wife to reach her hand in there and get bit. And so this spider like hid, and I tried legitimately, even though it's a poisonous spider, it's a venomous spider, it's not deadly, but it can fuck you up pretty good. My thinking was I was going to take my hedge trimmer or like my shears and just like scoot it out. Well, I sliced it like it was a fucking lightsaber.
Good.
And just green
God
shit
damn it, good.
gooped all over. And I was like, oh.
Yep, absolutely.
I had a moment of silence for this fucking spider. That's how just grossly
That's what
vegan I
needed
am.
to happen.
yeah, turn in
Sorry
your
about
vegan
it.
card.
Shut up, you. I mourned it.
Yeah, from now on, I'm walking up with a fucking can of Raid, and I'm bombing the shit out of it.
It's great that, I guess, intern, temporary producer Jim is here. I accidentally punched Jim in the stomach one time killing a spider. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. I'm pretty sure I still have marks.
Yeah, I felt it.
So Jim was being very polite. Another brown widow, right, was descending behind me in my like gazebo thing in my backyard. And he's like, Jake, look out. And I turn and I do a stepping side kick. And you know how like Bruce Lee, what the? Well, the wata part was Jim's tummy.
Oh, no.
I felt so bad.
When was this?
Oh, fuck. 6 months ago? 7 months ago?
It was a while ago, yeah.
I was not there to witness this.
No, I wish you were, though. Because while I felt just incredible sense of guilt, I also thought that it could have won us America's Funniest Home Videos. Am I right? Overeager dad kung fu's his friend, and then you have Bob Saget like, oh, I'm gonna get a ninja kick. Wow. The only thing would have made it better if I punched Jim in the nuts.
Yes.
That wins you by default.
That would have made it.
Chad, have you ever punched Jim in the nuts?
Oh, several times.
That's romantic.
Yeah.
On purpose? Or
Yes. I don't think it's ever been an accident. But
what's the capital of Thailand? Fuck boys.
Not going there.
All right. Anyway, so this week is Arachnophobia, or Spider Jaws, if you will.
Yep, very much so.
agreed.
Or Spider Pet Cemetery. I mean, this movie is very familiar, but it's also new in its own unique way. Without getting too far into it, what'd you think?
I loved it. Absolutely.
I agree. I totally enjoyed it.
I mean, it. I feel like it's a little long-winded. Comes in on just under 2 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, there's some parts that I can probably skip out on, but I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit. I'm critiquing it ahead of time.
There's a good number of deaths, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's fair.
And I mean, all of the deaths are believable, right?
Yeah.
They're
Mostly.
The mummy guy's a little bit excessive, right?
Yeah.
The mummy guy.
The guy who looks like the alien from Moontrap.
Oh, the guy in the photographer in the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I mean, when you establish that the spider's been feasting on him for 2 weeks,
and that's why I'm like, as long as they explain why he is in the state that he's in,
Right.
that makes
the state
sense.
of California.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, and essentially they're vampires, or that's what they say in the movie. So.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So I have some fun trivia and stuff. Shall I get into it? Chad, I understand you have some trivia as well.
Yes, I think we both have the same trivia.
It looks like it. That's what I was saying. Like, there's interesting trivia about the movie, but it's also super brief to get through. And then once you've said it, you're kind of done. So do you want to just ping pong back and forth?
Sure.
You go first.
Okay.
And if you outdo me, you're off the show.
Mm.
Because Jim is right there, ready to step in on a moment's notice.
Come on, Jim Turn.
You know, like those runner sprints where they're like kind of crouched? That's Jim looking at this microphone, Chad. So you better get a good job or he's going to come over here. Drop
I like
on
it.
over.
I like it. Yeah.
I like that they used lemon pledge to help control the spiders.
Because they don't like the stickies on their feet. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, Spider-Man has stickies on his feet. He doesn't seem to mind. Am I right, guy? Am I? Anyway, yeah, I agree.
Watch green screen later.
So also, there's a couple other ways that they would corral the spiders.
Yes.
There were blow dryers that they would use, and they'd have these little micro holes, and they'd shoot air through because they didn't like the warm. They would sometimes use like a baruba wax with a piece of metal, and they would literally use magnets to shuffle the spiders along.
Huh.
And they also used a microfilament, literally like a leash, to move spiders when they needed to, in very rare circumstances in the movie.
But no spiders were killed during the filming.
Not a one.
I don't know if I believe that.
All of the spiders that were dead were actually like died of natural causes that they brought in.
You want proof? When
Died of natural causes. You're
like,
like,
elbows natural.
Yeah. It's like, how natural is your fucking foot stomping down on those motherfuckers that scares
Yeah.
you?
So that actually brings me to a classic point of how diplomatic this movie was, right? So Delbert, or John Goodman, when he squashes a spider, it's like less than 5 second take, right?
Yes.
Took over an hour to do. Why? Because John Goodman was wearing a hollowed out boot. And what they would do is as he would step down on the spider would curl in, hide, and it would go over. Then with the pull up, it's a reveal. It's a completely different boot because it's kind of a different angle, and that's where the goop comes in. That spider was never crushed.
Right. Along with the spraying as well, right? They used the fake spider that they sprayed several times, and then they'd cut back to a live one running
does it show
away.
like a live one? So there was no spider that got sprayed like at all? Like
if they did it with water.
or something?
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was getting at. So
Yeah.
it does show them getting sprayed, and that's an actual spider. But like the ones that get like shot with like fizzling fucking homebrew.
Yeah, that's all
yeah,
fake.
no, that's
yeah,
fake.
okay.
So to make the sounds of the squashing of the spiders, they either stepped on a mustard packet or a potato chip.
Oh, I think that's so interesting. All the different sound effects.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck it's called.
Foley artist.
Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Foley artist?
Foley, like Axel
Right.
Foley.
So
Achwell?
they have like a literally like a giant board with all kinds of instruments to use.
Well, and they also, so like I remember watching one as a kid where they took a head of lettuce and some Kellogg's cornflakes. They put it in a bag and they slapped it on the ground, and that sound was like a guy's head hitting the ground.
Oh,
And one that I think
that's
you would
awesome.
really like was The Hobbit. So when they were doing like the sounds of the goblins, for instance, the guy used banjo picks on his fingers and clicked them, clicked them.
Oh,
on
that
wood.
is so cool.
It's
That
so
is really
weird.
neat.
Like the things that you're like a silenced pistol.
Right.
Fun fact: silencers or suppressors do not sound like that at all. You can't mute the sound of gunfire exploding. I'm sorry, or gunpowder rather. So it's more like a cut. What you're cutting off is the reverberation. So that
Right.
sound completely fictional, but your mind hears that and you're like, oh, it's a silencer naturally.
Kind of off topic a little bit, but have you guys ever been to one of those like matinee shows where they give you props to use during the actual movie? Like I went. This is like in San Diego where they had some like cult classics and like kind of off the wall shit. They showed Human Centipede, and they gave us not grip tape but sandpaper to make the sounds of like cutting of bone. It's like, and then like they'd like knock out the teeth of people, and like they gave us like Tic Tacs like throw and stuff. It's like a Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Very cool.
Interesting.
So, and this is in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
How weird is that? Usually they
It's
save
really
that
random.
for like the vampires who come out at night.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Right on. Is it my turn or your turn? I kind of picked up on yours. Shall
That's
I go to the
fine.
next one?
Yeah, go
The
for it.
spiders that you see, the cute little guys, are Avondale spiders from New Zealand, also known as Delana Cancerides spiders. Now, completely non-lethal to humans. They're very docile and safe, and they have these cute little booties. I like those spiders a lot. Like, I would like to be friends with one. So, don't worry, not intimidating at all. Chad?
This was also the first film to be billed as a thrill-omedy. Is that how you say it?
Yep.
Thrill-omedy?
So like a thrill slash
That hasn't
comedy.
carried over, right?
No.
I've never heard
They
that.
killed
Like,
it and started it at the same time.
Like, I literally was listening to interviews where they had the interviewer like plug it in, like that was their copy they had
oh
to read. I'm like,
no.
this is a thrill-omedy. No.
No, that's awful.
Yeah.
That is so bad.
I don't know any movie after this
I
that
just wa-
did it.
I just want to say, shame. Shame.
All caps, sad.
Right.
Anyway, filmmakers found Bob, so the big spider is named Big Bob after Robert Zemeckis. And that spider, the real life one, is actually a bird-eating tarantula. And it was the only one in the United States at the time. Even with that, they still added a prosthetic abdomen to make it look bigger, and they added purple stripes to it to make it look more intimidating. Now, the vast majority of those shots were, the close-ups and everything, were based on an animatronic that was created by Jamie Hyneman of Mythbusters fame.
Oh,
and
that's
it's
cool.
robotic.
Sweet.
So, like, every time you see that close-up of its eyes, completely fake. Pretty much anytime it's crawling, like, for instance, a great example is when it's crawling out of the dog door, completely fake. It's robotic, but it looks good enough. But that's one of the great things that we're talking about with Foley artists. When you make that sound effect, your brain's filling in the rest. When you hear that, I've never heard a fucking spider at me.
Yes, yeah.
Spider fucking at me, I'm going to squash that motherfucker.
That's so funny because throughout the film, I was just like, did that thing fucking hiss at me like a cat?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Especially the one at the end. It's like a big old hiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
Juicy.
Yep.
Your turn.
So
shit.
that's not a thing. A hissing spider? That's not a thing?
Oh,
Barking spider. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Come on.
I'm pretty sure
No,
it
this
is.
a-
There has to be a spider
There
out
has
there.
to be a hissing spider,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
How has it taken this long before you've actually done one of those? We're episode 30.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Is
that's
this
true.
episode 30?
I think it is. Yeah.
Fuck, episode 30! Woo!
Or actually,
29.
no, I think we're at 31, actually. That's where I'm double checking because I realized
fuck.
as soon as I said it out loud, I was like, wait a second. No, I'm entirely wrong.
Did you guys not celebrate?
Nope.
No, we just did an episode. Sorry about it. Because we were saving it for you. Yay, episode.
Bastards.
But now we're past episode 30. But
That's cool.
technically, with that terrible Ted Bundy review that we did, we already passed it.
Oh,
how much we
God.
hated that?
That is so bad.
We were
Don't
both
ever watch
pouting.
it.
People were
Don't
like,
ever
oh,
watch
but
it.
I loved it. Flicking my titties
It
while
is-
I'm watching Zac Efron. No, it wasn't Zac Efron.
No,
it was the documentary.
the
yeah.
documentary, and it's like it's glorifying somebody who like had sex with.
It's
Dead
pretty
women.
funny because I was going to watch it and then you guys reviewed it and I was like, all right, I'm not going to do it.
If we can save you 4 hours of your time,
True.
check it out.
All right. So,
That's the way I look at us when we're doing like the tragics. Like if I can, because this is the amount, the
No,
outpouring of.
I wouldn't say that because I think Ice Cream Man was a tragic,
It was.
and I still recommend people watch it.
But here's the other one. That's not the reigning champion. The reigning champion is Still I Married an Axe Murderer.
Which
And
is
all
great.
of you fucks think that it still holds up. It doesn't. It is bad.
It is
Big
very
Blue
bad.
Bomb.
Oh God, here we go.
after we did that one,
Movie is no good.
As long as you could use it in that context, we're okay.
after we did that one, there was like 3 other podcasts that I noticed did it and they all liked it. And I was like, oh my God.
Like, are we watching?
Oh,
Are we
sad.
watching the same film? I don't understand.
I couldn't. I don't know. Maybe it's because I had seen other like Mike Myers stuff that I enjoyed recently, like Wayne's World. But
If somebody was like, "Oh, dude, I feel like you would totally love Mike Myers and all of his like films that he's in." Oh yeah, what's a movie that you feel like I would like? They show me this film. Never watch anything ever again.
Yeah.
Hard
Sorry
pass.
about it.
Did you just have a barking spider there, Chad?
Yes.
All right.
Wow, calling him out, huh?
I did. Well, I
Damn.
wanted a great example because I did.
We
my
need a
own
mic
film.
like right down here.
No, we don't. Do you have another piece of trivia?
Yeah, so this is Frank Marshall's like debut of being a director, but he also produced several Steven Spielberg films like The Goonies, Poltergeist, Gremlins, Empire of the Sun, and The Color Purple.
Empire of the Sun is the first starring role of Christian Bale, by the way. I think he was 11 at that time. His first film role of all time, Mio in the Land of Far Away. I think I've talked about that on the show. Big fan of that guy. He's pretty damn good at what he does.
Yeah, I agree.
So, just shows you. I will return fire with the trivia. The video game published by Walt Disney Computer Software. They also did a comic book adaptation, which I was not able to find, but I would love to. The game was released in 1991 by Blue Sky Software. If you know your history, Blue Sky Software is responsible for so many things that you butt fucking love. I'm pointing at Jim. Vector Man, motherfucker.
Never even heard.
Jim's never heard of Vector Man. He is demoted.
Nope.
What's lower than intern? Okay, you are the gimp of the show now. Anyway, the game was released on Amiga, Amstrad, CPC, Commodore 64.
Yeah, sorry, Jim. The gimp suit's over in the corner over there. So,
and you're gonna have to climb in that big piece of luggage that we have. Anyway, do you mind using a used ball gag? No, we're good. Okay. I rinsed it off and then I put it in my dishwasher for sanitization. Chad, you got another one?
No, go ahead.
I didn't finish my point about the video game. You can look it up on YouTube. Super cute. Like the effort they made, and you can hear like the grunting sounds of Delbert as he's like squirting the pesticide. It's fun. Keep going. Your turn.
No, go for it.
I watched a clip of a show called Bob's Basement where Bob's Burns showed movie props that he had, and the host called the spinnerets of the spider stingers. And he's like, "Oh, it has 2 stingers." Maybe. Here's a thought. You're going to talk about spiders. You should probably know a vague idea of their anatomy. Whatever. Like we said, I'm probably the arachnophile of the group. So, anyway, Saturn Awards. We love our Saturn Awards here on Slashers Pod.
yeah, buddy.
Those of you who know, Saturn Awards are like the coveted awards.
They're
not
really
the ones.
the awards that matter.
Yeah. And speaking of which, the best actor goes to Jeff Daniels. Best horror movie goes to Arachnophobia in 1991.
That's
Enjoy
awesome.
it.
Yep.
Bing bong boom.
Nope. Just stop.
Okay. Spider Wrangler Steven Kutcher. Before Arachnophobia, he had dealt with 3,000 locusts in Exorcist 2, 40,000 carpenter ants for an episode of Wonder Woman, and hundreds of roaches for Orkin pest control commercials. So this dude was like born and bred to do this role. And Jeff Daniels,
Fucking creepy.
yeah, this guy Daniels completely throws this guy under the bus and was like, this dude cared, and Goodman both were like, he cares about the insects more than he does people. And the dude was like, yeah, they're kind of my life, and they've never been mean to me. That's in an interview from 1991 before the movie came out. And my last bit of trivia. Igo Cantor, the producer of the 1977 film Kingdom of the Spiders and the ill-fated sequel Kingdom of the Spiders 2 3D, never actually happened.
Fucking
Kind of wish
3D,
did.
huh?
Yeah. The movie starring Willie Shatz, or as many people call him, William Shatner.
Yep.
Star Trek rules. Anyway, he said that the movie was, quote, a copy. And he said, quote, but you don't go sue Steven Spielberg. So what did Jake do with his copious amounts of free time? Fuck boys.
You tried to sue
You watched
Steven
it?
Spielberg.
One of you was very correct. And I used my lawyering to try and sue Steven Spielberg. No, I did watch it. It is super fun, super dumb. You could find it for free on YouTube. I could see the similarities. I'll kind of address them as we get into the movie, but can I spoil the ending for you? Because I think that
Oh,
movie,
please do.
it has such a better ending than this movie. It's
Go
not
for
even
it.
funny. Willie Shatz and all these people barricade themselves in this cabin. They don't want the spiders getting in. They're blocking the vents, blocking the windows, they're blocking the doors. And Willie Shatz is like, hey, we should go check and see what's going on outside. I'm going to open the door. They're like, don't fucking open the door. Don't open it. Think how many spiders come in if you open the door. He's like, oh, okay. I'm smart. I figured it out. So they open up a window, like the slat in front of the window because they're like, oh, we would have heard the glass break if they broke it. So he
Wait,
opens it.
spiders are breaking windows?
They're like hardcore.
Are they like much bigger?
Wow.
Not really.
Okay.
They're actually all like just tarantula sized, but they're very potent and they're killing livestock.
And they're
So that's pretty
breaking windows.
glass.
They don't. That's the point. They would hear it if they had, is what they're saying. So they open it, and it's just gray, as if there's a fog over the town. And it cuts to a matte painting
And
of
it's
a cabin
it's all web.
covered in web, and it pans out, and the entire town is covered in web, which means that Willie Schatz and his little niece are gonna die, and the lady he's fucking steady, who he just met, who's changing her whole life to be with him, she's gonna die. Way better than going back to San Francisco.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
Fuckers ready to get in a stab tistis.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like sorry, again off topic. Kinda, sorta. Once upon a time, I feel like there was a movie. There was kind of like a thriller about killer bees. Do you guys remember anything like that, where like an entire town gets like attacked by like Africanized? Is it called Africanized bees?
I think
right?
you're talking about the Wicker Man. Oh,
No.
the bees, my
I
eyes.
remember.
No, but
my
it's like an
girl,
entire
the boy
town that
dies.
gets attacked by bees, and they have to like survive for so long. Like they
Oh,
like swim
hold on.
underwater, and
Did it get a theatrical release, or was it a bee movie? Got him.
I seriously was stopping to listen to what you're saying.
Was
You
it?
fucking dick.
Was it The Swarm from 1978?
It might be. It might.
Deadly
It was
Invasion
old.
of
It was,
the Killer
it
Bees
was
from
very.
1995?
It was very old. So
Killer Swarm, Killer Bees. There's a lot of bee movies.
there's a lot of bee movies. More than you can imagine.
Yeah, Deadly Invasion, The Killer Bees.
I don't know.
Swarms.
I remember watching something growing up where I was like, oh, that's crazy that like somebody locked themselves inside their car
Yeah.
and like bees swarmed the car and they started crawling inside the vents of like the AC.
You're talking about the Savage Bees. There
yeah,
you go.
I remember seeing that in on TV. It was fucking crazy.
1976 film, an hour and 30 minutes long, totally within our realm of possibility. We've had a bunch of goons talking about us doing more classic film. If you'd like, let us know. We'll do that movie. I have no fucking shame. If I can find it on YouTube, especially, that's great. 'Cause we've kind of we've talked about it on the show
Yeah.
before. We kind of had a principle, like we wanted to make sure that anybody
It's
could easily
accessible.
yeah.
Right. It has to be accessible to other people, because what's the point if we're talking about some super obscure movie that nobody's gonna have any understanding of what the fuck we're talking about?
Because it's a communal experience. It's not like we're just pandering. I mean, I think a lot of people who are like really deep in the know are like, yeah, you fucking pussy, you didn't do splattergut shit fuck 17. And I'm like, first of all, I don't know how you can get past the MPAA with language like that, Mr. Man. But then the point being, I want to be able to have those kind of fan interactions where somebody messages us and they're like, hey, Jaws is awesome. Thanks for reviewing it. And I'm like, you're welcome, guy. It's the best movie ever.
I think that was part of my issue with Street Trash.
You're
I
a whore.
could not find it.
Well,
For a
so
while.
good.
a street. I mean, to be fair,
Shutter
Street-
and Amazon Prime, I think, have it.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do you have to pay for it?
No.
Oh, it's on Prime?
Yeah.
really?
I'm
I don't
90% certain,
know.
yeah.
Huh. They must have picked it up after we covered it.
What about Blood Diner?
Blood Diner, if you message me, I'll find a way to get it to you.
Yeah, I
It's-
think that was the other one too. I
I
was
am
like,
everybody
evangelical about that fucking movie.
Everybody should watch Blood. Jim Turn, have you seen Blood Diner?
I have not.
God,
Me either.
you're demoted below Gimp.
Wow. Okay.
me and Jimmy both have not seen it.
Well, it
Viewing
looks-
party.
we're having a viewing party. I mean, I'm down to watch it for like the 6th time.
Yeah, right. In less than a year. Anyway, the budget for this film, $22 million. The gross, $53.2 million. And then as of 2019 is $103 million.
Yeah, that's
Huh.
awesome.
Oh, no, wait, excuse me. That's adjusted for inflation.
Adjusted, right.
Oh,
So
okay.
when you adjust for inflation, the budget is $43 million. Jesus Christ. From the 90s, you're doubling
More
it.
than it's almost
Almost doubling.
tripling. Well,
For the, yeah,
okay. Yeah.
almost double.
Math.
But here's me thinking, oh yeah, the 90s were just 10 years ago. Wrong.
Yeah.
Movie came out July 18th, 1990. It was the only movie to come out in theaters that weekend.
It should have came out on July 4th. So it can be like Jaws, right?
Hell
Because of
yeah.
like 4th of July weekend.
Well, it should have,
Yeah.
considering it is basically Jaws. Also directed by, or produced by Amblin Entertainment, which was made because of Steven Spielberg, and it's named after Amblin, which was a movie that he did, and blah, blah, blah. He did. Josh, I'm going to gesture in front of Chad's face on the camera. Sorry, Chad.
You're just like, how many different levels of bacon for movies?
See, the same bug that just flew on me flew on Brian's forehead. Sorry.
Arachnophobia.
So
I'm going to freak the fuck out.
now, the week before was Die Hard, or 2 weeks before was Die Hard 2.
Can't compete.
The week before, Ghost.
Oh, can totally compete.
And
fuck that movie.
A couple weeks later, Flatliners on August 10th.
Oh,
Can't compete.
I liked Flatliners.
Well, it's fun, right?
Yeah.
I like Flatliners. I
Did you
also
watch
like
the
Die
new
Hard.
Nah, fuck no.
I
It looks
didn't
so
either.
stupid. Oh, I know how to play the piano.
To be fair, the Die Hard 2 is like the least favorite, probably.
Hard pass on that. I think that the one with him and his son is way more annoying. Die Hard 2, you get to see death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey's ass.
But you know what?
You remember what I'm talking about?
But I guess what I should say is within the same vein of like classic Die Hards.
Okay, if you're talking
right?
the original trilogy,
Like
it's the
the-
worst of that trilogy, yeah.
The original, even 4, I feel like
Live
is
for your Die Hard. I'll give you that. That's
right.
He killed a helicopter with a police car.
Right, exactly, with a fucking
Did you
with
see that? I
a
didn't see it. I
bike.
did it. Yeah. Then Kevin Smith, what's the wizard? Is that what his
Yes.
name is?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
He was.
There we go.
His IT guy was laughing at that whole scene because he's like, he knows nothing of anything about a computer.
Not at all. The runtime of the film, 110 minutes. I think we all agree you can trim some fat on this movie.
Yeah.
It's not terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
I still was engaged the whole time, but I think you trim this down to even 100 minutes, you're in a way better spot.
I mean, the 5-minute fondling of the high school boy scene was kind of long.
It was
Awkward.
very useless. Very
Yeah.
useless. Like I get it. You know, he's like, oh, I got another paying gig. That's cool. And then it would have been cool if he just like shows up and he says, all right, drop him. It just shows a bunch of guys drop him and then cut scene.
That's better.
Right.
Much
and then
better.
you're like, okay, that's it. I don't need to see him touching everybody's genitalia.
Well, especially
Yes.
because this douche pimple, he's touching their junk with, even if it's a glove, he goes from one to the next without changing his gloves at all. So he could be herpying up all these poor boys.
Yeah, but you're also talking about what? Early 90s? They don't give a fuck.
Ew.
They
well, the AIDS
don't.
crisis was pretty. in
They
effect
don't. Come
there.
on. I mean, you're also talking about the guys that like showered fucking together, like holding hands.
Yeah,
basically
but
after fucking
He's
football
a
practice.
doctor.
Yeah, he's a doctor, Brian. Yeah.
What kind of doctors did you go to?
His name was Bill, and he had a van behind the Baskin Robbins.
I don't want to talk about it.
His touch was tender, and his eyes had a mighty gaze. Oh God! Frank Wilton Marshall co-founded Amblin Entertainment with Steven Spielberg and his wife. You know who his wife is? Jim will appreciate this. You might know her as the evil whore who's ruining Star Wars, and that's coming from a guy who doesn't like Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy. Whoo.
So I was a little triggered.
Yeah, Jim needs to get himself to a safe space. So this is something he said that I really appreciated. So Marshall had compared this movie to a funhouse, right? Where it's kind of spooky, but you're enjoying yourself the whole time. And he talked about it being a roller coaster as well, saying people like to be scared, but laughing like a roller coaster. No one wants to be terrified. And I can appreciate this, not because I don't want to be terrified and not to be like braggadocious, but I don't feel like I'm capable of being terrified in a movie. So I'd rather have it be more fun than sit there and watch something that's supposed to be scary where I'm like,
Yeah.
True. When I go to those places, I'm just looking at the design and going, "Oh, that's pretty cool. That's
here-
cool." But I'm never freaking out like, "Oh my god, it's so scary."
Here's the thing about this film, though. For me, I never once just like chuckled. Nothing came to me where I was like, "Oh, that was good."
I
Right?
can agree.
I don't feel like this is a thrill-omedy.
No,
Like,
no,
at
no.
all.
Like the only thing,
Like-
the tone is a little bit off too when what's his name comes in.
Like I get it
The
if there was some
They turned it
very
definitely
dry
Yeah.
humor cut in between,
right.
but I didn't get any of that.
So
Right.
fun thing that ties into that. So the guys who wrote the movie, Don Jakoby and Wesley Strick, Daniel said of them, quote, "You could tell that the lines were kind of written by computer," he said. And apparently a lot of the tweaking, so lines that were technically straight lines were delivered with a comedic effect or, kind of twinge to try and make it more light, even though it wasn't, because it just felt kind of like a horror movie by numbers, which goes directly to it's Jaws. It basically they remade Jaws. So that's kind of where it comes from. Also, Pet Sematary, which came out just a year before. I mean, very similar premise.
Yeah.
And so,
but I mean, I feel like even with Jaws, you had a little more kind of subtle off humor.
Oh, so much better
than with this, right?
Yeah, right. The only thing, was just heavy-handed with the Exterminator.
Which, yeah, you could. I feel like Delbert was not intended to be that funny. I think that's definitely John Goodman chewing the scenery and just being.
And then I mean,
fantastic.
it doesn't help when as soon as he steps on screen, they have the fucking
music. Yes, yeah, that's what I mean. They just like turned it up, and yeah.
Here's my thinking.
And then again, dies down when he's off screen.
He is Robert Shaw. He is Quint from Jaws in this film. But he took it in a completely different direction where he's way more comedic. When you think about Quint, he is very comedic. He is so intense.
But he's very serious about it. Right.
And I think that maybe that's why he didn't die, is because you have the direct comparison. But I think that just like with Jaws, I love that death because it shows that even the guy who's the most stalwart and capable, the guy who's prepared for the situation his whole life, still can be overwhelmed. And here's a guy who fancies himself an expert on entomology, and he could still die. That's my thinking. But we'll move on. I'm sure I'll make that point as we go. Did you know that Jakoby wrote Double Team? Oh, what's Double Team, you ask?
Oh, fuck.
That's
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
And Dennis Rodman, baby.
Anytime we could throw out Jean-Claude Van Damme, JVD, if you will.
JCVD. Have you seen that movie where he delivers the monologue?
No.
Oh, it's a great movie that he's in where it's kind of like slightly autobiographical, whatever. He kind of plays himself in the situation where I think they're holding up a post office. And so he's sitting there and they rise him on a rising chair and he does this really intense monologue. It's very self-reflective and self-deprecating. And he comes back down. Dude, it's super cool. You should check it out.
I don't know. All I remember growing up watching JCVD movies is how many times he does the splits for no apparent reason.
It's necessary.
I don't
Absolutely
know.
Necessary.
Bloodsport. He's,
necessary.
Doing the splits in between two chairs.
Yep.
And it's just like, I guess you're stretching your limbs and
Kickboxer where his coach is literally stretching him. Remember that?
Absolutely. I think just recently, didn't they come up with like a Volvo commercial? Where he does the splits between two trucks.
Love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun like after the fact where he plays on the whole like, I do nothing but the splits and I do like roundhouse kicks and that's about it.
The thing that breaks my heart is in, I think it was Expendables 2 because it's the last one I saw. They kind of kill him unceremoniously. It's like, dude, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Right,
like,
exactly.
For our generation specifically, you can't punk out Jean-Claude. Like, trust me, I love me some Sylvester Stallone. Like, I'm the dude who's seen
I wish he would have just like gotten like fucking some exploding shrapnel to the nuts as he's doing the splits.
Yeah, like a split in half.
I don't like that so much. We're changing topics. He also wrote Evolution, which is a movie I love. Check this out. Also wrote Life Force, which I love. Also wrote The Philadelphia Experiment, which I love. And John Carpenter's Vampires, which I love, even though James Woods has gone fucking crazy.
Yeah. James Woods.
You remember that? You get a little chub there, Padre? You remember that? He beats the shit out of this priest, and then afterwards he's like, he's asking him, like, did you get your rocks off when I beat the fuck out of you, guy? Swear.
James Woods.
Super good.
He's also like a genius, right? Yeah. He's pretty fucking smart, I'm pretty sure.
And you'd have to be pretty fucking smart if your last name was Strick. And you also wrote Cape Fear, Wolf, The Saint, Doom, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, not so smart. And then 4 episodes of The Man in the High Castle. Yeah. These are both like 2 very proficient writers. Not great, but
Cape Fear is a fucked up movie. I've recommended it once or twice, but Jake's like, hard pass.
Hard pass. Nothing with the R.
It's fine.
Honestly, like, so here's something I figured out that you can watch. So have you ever heard of Commander USA or something like that? He was like a guy who is not as good as Joe Bob, but he was like a superhero who kind of looked like the comedian from Watchmen. He would cue in movies. So that's when I watched The Killer Spiders. It was on YouTube, or The Kingdom of the Spiders, excuse me. And he like cues it in and out. And so I was thinking, if I could find some movie that had like, let's say the R word in it, I could just watch on, the made for the cable edit. I'd be fine.
Right. Made for TV.
Right. That stuff. Music by Trevor Jones. You might remember him as the guy who did the music for Excalibur, Labyrinth, buttfucker,
Awesome.
Mississippi Burning, Last of the Mohicans, and In the Name of the Fire.
Mochican?
I pronounced it wrong on purpose. I swear on my life. I know. Even in my notes, it's spelled correctly.
He knows how it's pronounced.
I'm like so smart. You would not believe it. Shall we get into nicknames?
Yes.
Dick names.
Snick names.
Prick names.
Yes, we did it. Jeff Daniels is Dr. Ross Jennings. You might know him from films such as The Squid and the Whale. Oh, what's that movie? It's a movie where Jeff Daniels' son comes in his hands and spreads it on library books.
Or
No fucking joke. I bought the movie. I was like, Jeff Daniels, indie film. Gotta check this out.
or Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, right. Have you ever seen Bloodwork that he was in?
No.
Yes.
Bloodwork is super fun. It's a detective movie with Clint
Isn't
Eastwood.
that, he directed it, right? Clint Eastwood.
Oh, so good.
It's good.
Not great.
Wasn't he just recently in some stuff where he's like a reporter, like a news reporter?
Yes.
Was it
Lots of
pretty good?
political stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like that one monologue he did, like changed his fucking life, where he's like, America was never great.
Huh.
So it was pretty clear we're gonna call him Harry, right?
Yeah,
Harry.
Harry. Absolutely.
Sorry, like I tried to come up with something clever. I'm like, or not. We don't have to. His wife, Harley Jane Kozak, as Molly Jennings. You might recall that she was in I Spit on Your Grave 3. Vengeance is mine.
Haven't seen it.
Nope.
No, neither have I.
To be honest with you, she wasn't in the film all that much.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, it's almost sad.
Can we call her Snooze Fest? Because she did.
I wish she was in it a little bit more.
Yeah.
She was a camera lady, right?
She just kind of walks in and supports him. when
Right.
he's
She's
down,
just
and
like,
that's it.
she's like with the children a lot.
Yeah. Well, she kind of rubs it in her face that she was more successful than he was.
Yeah, with a stockbroker and
Yeah.
whatnot.
She's like, well, I can go back to work because you suck.
We're going to call her a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
All right.
Then we have John Goodman as Delbert McClintock. And I
Yeah.
want to point this out. There's an actor named Ken Thorley, who you might remember was in a little film, might have heard of it, called Men in Black. He's
Never heard of it.
I swear on my life. The pest control guy. He literally, when you look at his outfit, it is John Goodman when he's doing the dual wield
Right.
with the two
Right.
tanks and the green. That's before the big cockroach just shoves the thing down his throat and the
Yep.
suit. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Affirm me. I need you to affirm me with your words because my love
Yeah,
language is
I
positive
get
reinforcement.
it. He really loves the salt, right? It's the salt or the sugar.
Sugar.
With some sugar.
There you go.
And
The
water.
Give me some sugar. Let me ask you a quick question. Is this an impersonation of a space cockroach or our president? Am I right?
What?
It's a joke. I
That's
don't
good.
know.
That's good. Yeah.
Moving on. Oh yeah, what are we gonna call John Goodman?
Politics.
Just fucking around. It's all just dicks and pussies at the end of the day, right? Trying to remember the context when we first said that. We've been saying that for so long. I don't know.
And butts.
Butts.
Yep.
Brian saved a meme of mine. I sent over a rough draft and it involved boobs, and I was like, I feel like it doesn't get the whole thing. He's like, butts. Jake.
Everybody gets butts.
You're like the sage, like mystic who I find in the forest. You're like, the answer you've been looking for. Your whole life.
I'm like, butts.
You're like Karnak from Johnny Carson, and the answer is butts. Rips open the envelope. Terrible meme made by Jake to generate listeners who probably don't give a fuck. Crumple, toss. Anyway, what are we calling John Goodman? Mr. Roseanne. Ooh, talking about politics, am I right?
Ooh.
Guy from The Artist. Guy from 10 Cloverfield Lane. Oh, he was also in Chud, a classic that we have reviewed.
We'll
Well,
just
you
call him
made it.
Chud.
I'll call him Chud.
Yeah.
I'll call him
All
Chud.
right. Chud.
All right.
You know what? Hold on.
You didn't like Chud. I like Chud. You've never even fucking finished Chud.
Nope.
Just because I didn't like Chud doesn't mean
Okay, first thing.
doesn't mean that I hated it.
I'm
Right?
not saying you hated it.
You literally just said you hated Chud.
I'm speaking. Okay, it's called hyperbole. It's what we do in the 21st century.
Okay, I didn't say that you hated it. Well, you literally just said, "Oh, you hated it."
Fake news. Fake news. You want to talk political? You can't prove I said shit.
It just wasn't one of my favorites.
But it's good. And it's awesome. And it's classic.
But,
Anyway.
but it's good.
Julian Sands played James Atherton, the doctor. Y'all motherfuckers might know him from Warlock. I know him from two things. An episode of Biker Mice from Mars. Oh, yeah, I went there.
Wow.
And if you are a fan of the Michael Graves Misfits, you might remember a song called Helena, which is a reference to the film Boxing Helena. And if I could give you a few bars of the song, if I cut off your arms and I cut off your legs, would you still love me anyway?
Can you sing it?
If I cut off your arms and cut off your legs, would you still love me anyway?
I like it.
Bound and draped and displayed, would you still love me? Love me anyway. You don't remember that? You never heard that song?
No.
Fuckers,
No.
I'm making a playlist. Chad, what's your favorite Misfit song? This is going to be so
Oh my
funny.
God.
It's so funny.
I couldn't name one.
I have already sung two different ones in this one. No, I've sung three different ones in this one episode.
I'm thinking of one in my brain right now.
The first one.
Literally done three of them.
Teenagers from Mars,
Yeah, that's the one.
and we don't care.
So that bring the count in this episode: Attitude, Hate Breeders, Box or Helena, and Teenagers from Mars.
One of those is my favorite.
One last caress.
People don't understand. I do
One last
not listen to
caress.
music at
For a
all.
sweet death, if you don't mind.
Whatever.
I kind of have a tattoo for them. They're kind of a big deal for me, even though Danzig's a bit of a cuck. Moving
A
on.
bit of a cuck.
So Julian Sands was talking about how he's actually an arachnophile as well, talking about how he's literally stopped his car to help ferry tarantulas across the road in California. And he said that he was actually kind of pushed to his limits in this movie. If you recall, there's a scene where the doctor falls and there's spiders all over his face. The way that they achieved that practical effect was to put a funnel type mask over his face. They filled it with spiders that fell onto his face, and they had to keep it there stationary, and they'd pull it off when they'd start filming, and so the spiders would spread and run
Wow,
away.
they've like run away for their lives
Yeah.
because they're literally probably scared out of their
Yeah.
minds.
Exactly.
They're like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
After
right?
they've been scrambling on his face the whole time the
Oh.
mask was on.
That's
And
awful.
did I mention the fact that he also knew he had to swing backwards upside down? Dude's kind of a pimp. Like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Not bad.
And also, he's Dr. Ponytail.
Yes.
Doc-
I agree.
What did I call him earlier? Spider pony.
Spider Pony.
Spider
yeah.
Pony.
That's just like the worst centaur ever. Can we talk about that? Okay,
I don't know where they're spraying their webs from, but it comes from somewhere.
That's like literally the donkey show from hell.
Oh, I'd see it.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right.
It's always a soft-spoken one.
So let's move on. I'm going to leave out some of these characters. Henry Jones played Dr. Sam Metcalf. He's the old guy who
Fucking
wouldn't give
He's
prick.
just a dick.
Fucking prick.
Dick prick dick.
Brick dick.
Yeah, that
dick.
sounds. I know his wife was the chick from Billy Madison.
Yeah.
Frances Bay, the sweetheart old lady.
Yeah.
You could have a nice glass and shut the hell up. Right?
Yeah. You will go to sleep or I'll put you to sleep.
Kathy Kinney, also known as Mimi from Drew Carey Show, was in this film as well.
Yep.
Stuart Pankin as Sheriff Lloyd Parsons, or as I like to call him, the poor man's Jim Belushi. John Belushi. Which one
I
is
could
it?
see that.
John.
John.
John? Was it
John
John Belushi?
Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. He was also in Congo, which I'll probably reference like 4 or 5 times in this movie because it was also not great.
He's definitely one of the actors where you're like, I can't put a name on where I've seen him.
Yeah. He's another
Right?
role that they
It's-
kind of seem to try and do a lot of
He's
comedy
a
with.
fringe actor and he just hangs out on the outside. Just
Yeah.
whatever.
Do we have a nickname for him?
Fringe.
Oh, I was gonna call him Captain Crunch because he eats the cereal. And that's
Yeah, that's it. Was it Captain Crunch?
No, it's just cereal, but that's my favorite.
I'm like, what is it exactly, Jake?
Let me pull up the movie.
No,
on my-
it seems like it would be Captain Crunch. It's not like it's Rice Krispies or Cheerios or some shit.
I think
it was
actually
like
is
some
like a
sort
healthy
of
cereal, which
some sort
bothered
of
me.
flakes.
Yeah, it was an old lady's cereal, so it made sense. Branios. Okay, so which one of you turd pockets is gonna do the recapitation this week?
Go for it, Brian.
I'm trying to work on diversifying my swearing. Sorry, guys. Turd pocket, go.
New doctor moves into town with family and 2 kids. Family includes 2 kids. I don't know why I separated them.
I like that it's like he and his wife were
One's
family,
boy,
and
one's
these
a
kids
girl.
just followed him. Like they're from Children of the
yes,
Corn.
I
They just
know.
walked.
That, please elaborate on me fucking up, guys.
You
Come
added
on.
to it. You added to it, man.
Yeah, so they move to a new town. He gets promised all of the patients. Apparently, old doctor wants to stick around. But before that, I totally fucked up.
No,
Before that, there's a photographer who goes to Venezuela to take pictures of everything. He's not really trained for it. Gets bit by a spider. They send him back to town. That's where we have new doctor comes to town. Spiders spread everywhere, attack all of the town folk. Craziness ensues. Barn catches on fire. The end.
I just came up with a name for the photographer who we didn't give a name to. Can we call him the Spy Dork?
Spy dork.
Get it?
Spider?
Because he's a dork. He gets
And it
killed by
goes
a
with
spider.
spider.
Spy Dork.
Spider.
Or we call him Spy Derp with a P.
There are bugs flying everywhere.
I know
mean,
it's on
yeah.
your glasses.
motherfucker.
Anyway,
I'm
For those of you
gonna
who-
be like the guy from Home Alone. That
Marv
yes.
with a spider on his face.
Yeah, I love him.
Can we talk Daniel Stern also in Chud? That's why it's a
Also in
classic
Chud.
movie.
Exactly.
Daniel
exactly.
Stern is so good in that
Yeah,
movie.
he's oddly enough the like ex-tweaker
The Reverend.
reverend
Which
slash
I honestly wonder. I never
soup
put,
kitchen dude.
I
Yeah.
never put this together. Do you think that the Reverend, the former drummer of Avenged Sevenfold,
Oh God.
named himself after that character? They're both kind of strung out, looking and tiny and weird. You know. I don't know why I look at Chad when I talk about
every
music.
I was like, you're looking the wrong way, bud.
All right, Chad. Is
Chad, tell me one Avenged Sevenfold song, please.
I have no idea.
Hey, Chad, what's your favorite Misfits song? We just listed 4 minutes ago.
Shit.
No, we're good. We're
Was
good.
there a sun in one or something? I don't know.
What?
Did you say sun? I don't
He's
know.
like Empire of the Sun.
yeah. Is that it? No. Oh.
Where Christian Bale played tiny old Danzig.
Oh shit. Oh God.
So,
That's
Chad, do
good.
you want to take us through the Swing by play this week, bud?
Yeah, let's do it. So it starts out with Jerry Manley, which is
Spy
Dork, arrives in Venezuela to join a expedition of Dr. Ponytail. They're going to, I guess there's like this opening in the forest canopy is what they said or something.
Yep.
Where basically they said no one has seen it in like 10,000 years or some junk.
Yeah.
Untouched by humans.
Very similar to like Congo, even
Yes.
the Meg. I don't know if you've seen that, but in
Oh, I
that-
have
the
twice.
Marianas Trench where they go under it, like, oh, you didn't know? But that kind of
Right,
thing, yeah.
yeah.
Where it's like untouched by man, which explains why you have super monsters.
Oh, you didn't
Yeah.
know.
Da, 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 da. No ass but a call somebody. Yeah, you thought I was gonna leave you hanging. Hell,
Yeah,
no.
buddy.
Hey,
Is that a song?
Chad. Brian and I have 2 words for you.
Suck it. Sorry, go on.
The 90s with
so-
a vengeance.
It's kind of interesting because when they reach the bottom of this trench or whatever you want to call it, crevasse,
Crevasse.
they basically bring this like giant smoke gun and just start killing everything.
Yeah, seriously, the Green Goblin wants to invest in one of those. That's some sick
That guy
gear.
was
Yeah.
fucking weird.
Can we talk about something? Dr. Ponytail is obnoxious. This is the scene that makes him an
He's
asshole.
so pompous.
Yes.
He's like, we're going to go to the Tepuis. And the spy dork is like, oh, what? And he's like, Tepuis, it means mountains. Why the fuck didn't you say mountain then?
Yes. Everything about him. He's like, the photographer says, oh, I'm not feeling good. I'm kind of sick. And he's like, get sick on your own time. And it's like, damn, calm down.
He reminds me so much of the guy. Fuck, I can't believe his name is escaping me, but he was the lead singer in Spinal Tap who was in Airheads with his shitty little ponytail they rip off. You remember that?
I remember Airhead.
Steve Buscemi.
No, he's one of the Airheads. He's one of the Lone Rangers. You call yourselves the Lone Rangers? Anyway, moving on.
I don't know. I was
Oh, they
like,
referenced
the only person
dinosaurs.
I know from Arids.
They referenced dinosaurs twice because what was Steven Spielberg doing at the time of this? What was he doing, Brian? What was good old Mr. Spielberg doing at this time? Mr. Spielberg.
I got nothing.
Are you serious? You have nothing? Or are you playing it really good?
Jurassic Park.
Okay, thank you. I was like,
You're like, cut.
we're gonna need to pull his press credentials. Can you get him off the booth?
Jim Turn, get over here now.
Michael Crichton's legacy over here.
Yeah.
So they smoke a whole bunch of these trees, and a bunch of insects start falling from the trees.
You could tell we're not millennials because smoking trees means something different to that age group.
I bet.
My wife legitimately jumped when the spider attacked his camera. That was the first one, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a great film."
Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily,
Even right there, the doctor ponytails.
yeah,
a dick.
luckily,
He's like, no, it's not dead.
It's
Or
kinda
it's dead.
my wife is like so deathly afraid of spiders,
Oh yeah.
and she's like, "Yeah, no, I'll totally watch it with you." And I'm like,
You sure about
"Are
that?"
you though?" And I kind of saved her the trouble. I just watched on my own, and I feel like she's far better.
Oh,
off.
Just this
I
last
bet.
weekend when I
Far
went
better off.
hiking at your house, I showed her that spider, and it was a little baby guy.
And she's
maybe-
like, "Get that fucking thing
Dude,
away from
she's
me!"
like, no, yeah, I see it. And I was like, no, come look. The coloration's really cool. Look at, you can see where he's hiding, and he's kind of made this camouflage with the web. She's like, no, yeah, it's great. It's cool. She's like 4 arms lengths away from me.
Yeah, no joke. She's really not cool with that. So for her to agree to it, I was like, "Huh,
Interesting.
I don't believe you."
I feel like you used your anal coupon for that, where she was like, this is going to make me uncomfortable, and you'll enjoy it. So here you go. Sorry. That's
Sorry,
inappropriate.
wifey.
I hope she doesn't
So-
listen to this show.
So anyway, one of the spiders kind of escapes. They capture 2 of them and bring them back. They package them up to bring them back to the U.S. And the one that escaped is like a ninja jumping on all their equipment, hiding from them. Spider Dork gets Spy Dork?
Yeah,
There you
he's like he has like the
A
flu,
fever.
right?
Yeah, he says I still have a fever from whatever trip he came from. Or
And the only
whatever.
relief is more cowbell. Sorry.
What's really cool about this part, right, where he goes into the tent, is it doesn't show like any kind of spider movement at all. It's just the movement underneath the sleeping bag
Right.
or underneath the
or
blanket.
the shadow outside of the tent. Yeah, exactly.
Right, so it's just shadow, but then it shows actually like the movement underneath the blanket, right? And
Yes.
it's like that literally can be somebody moving their hand underneath it off camera.
Right.
And you're like, oh my God, I have the feeling this giant spider that's going to attack. So
Yeah.
that was kind of cool.
Yeah. So he lays down. The spider crawls up his leg, shows the blanket moving up. He puts his hand down to like see what's moving, gets bit, and just seizes up. It's kind of an interesting death.
I this is what I put in my notes, that it's, let me see. It's as if he stubbed his toe and is trying not to say fuck at a kid's birthday party.
That's true.
And you know what's really cool about it as well is they stay consistent with
The poison.
the poison
Yeah.
on how it affects other people.
Right.
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 So yeah.
Everyone, I think, except for the old man doctor who was like talking and fully fine.
But I
It was delayed,
I
but
digress. I feel like it's also
The offspring.
it's an infant, right? So it's
Yeah.
not a full potential poisonous bite. So he's still able to sputter words here and there before he dies,
Right. Yeah. I can give you that.
right? It's not the OG daddy that killed the guy. What do we call him?
Spy dork.
Spider. Right.
Yeah. So anyway, Spy Dork dies. They put him in a box. They think he died because of his fever. They don't check him for wounds or anything. They're just like, oh, it was the fever. Put him in a wood box, ship him back to the U.S., but there's a stowaway. And the big spider is in the box with him. Then we cut to,
The hearse at Canaima.
yes, where we meet did we give the the
Corner?
coroner a name?
No.
Anyway, yeah.
You
He's
want-
kind of weird.
But yeah, did you guys know this? Always eating
Yeah.
next to dead bodies.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's a fucking constant theme throughout.
Yeah,
I think-
we talked about it in Silence of the Lambs. We talked about it in Night of the
Exactly.
Creeps. I mean,
We talked about it
coroners
through the mini episode of with where he's the coroner, or he's the dead person, and he's eating or he's drinking. God damn it! Was it Craven? What was the one with the gas station?
Body bags.
Body bags,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because he's drinking
The formaldehyde.
the formaldehyde,
with
exactly.
the martini. Yeah,
Okay.
That's
There we go.
Carpenter.
Right. Okay. There we go.
When you said Craven, I was just
like,
in a Spider-Man costume.
Craven. Nope. Not Craven.
I was in
Sorry.
a Spider-Man costume for 20 minutes, and so when you said Craven, I was like, the hunter, the most dangerous game is man. Sorry. For you
No, but
Marvel
they're-
Comics fans.
They're always eating food next to dead bodies,
Right.
right? And everybody else is freaking out.
And
like,
they upplayed a lot with this guy. Like they make him very slobby. Like
right.
eating
He
chips
has a
and-
sandwich. He puts the sandwich down.
Right.
The cat eats the sandwich.
He has a cat in his
chips.
office, like
he has
with
the
dead
chips.
bodies.
He's just munching down on chips
Right.
as a guy like is like totally squeamish next to him.
right.
So
They're
kind of
definitely trying to show small town, but also just
Right.
horrible
Yeah, absolutely.
practices. So anyway, he opens the box and looks inside, and he's like, "Oh, I better call the family and say we're gonna have a closed casket because his whole body is drained of blood." And the spider kind of sneaks out without him noticing and crawls away.
You get to see Spider Vision, and you get to see, this is a great reference I'm about to make here, boys. Strap in. Cats and dogs living together. Ghostbusters. Anyway,
Ghostbusters for
because
sure.
the spider's crawling, and it looks, and it sees the dog, and the dog's like, woo, gotta get out of here. And then it looks
Yeah.
at the cat, and the cat's like, gotta get out of here.
And then it would have been great if the spider hissed back.
Yeah.
well, do you too? And then the crow comes down. He's like, I'm gonna have some lunch, and flies off. Crash lands and is smoking. That's how
Yes.
toxic this spider is, which I thought was hilarious.
Yes.
No crow was hurt in the film, right?
They actually never mentioned it that I saw. They're like, yeah, we'll save all the spiders, but who cares about the crows?
Yeah, I didn't stay to the end of the credits because I wasn't sure if they were going to be setting up a cinematic universe in this film. So I didn't see it.
Jesus. All right.
So yeah, the crow dies and falls from the sky and lands in the yard of Jeff Daniels, who we named
Harry.
Why would I forget Harry? I love that movie.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. It was also
Oh.
2 syllables and super cinchy.
Oh,
Big gulp, huh?
yeah.
So this is when you get Harry and stay-at-home mom talking about it. We did the right thing.
Yes.
Fucking kill me. I've already seen this part twice. This literally, we just saw it in Jaws. We saw it in Pet Sematary. I feel like those movies did it better,
Right.
especially because like this guy is a general practitioner. It's not as though when they talk about Lewis Creed, like their whole lives were fucked,
Right.
and it's
Right.
very
Right.
clear. And he was escaping that. Whereas this guy's like, oh yeah, we didn't want earthquakes.
But it's just the horror type like trope of, it has to be someone completely new entering a new town and
Right.
they're going to discover what's going on. No one's going to believe him because he's new. He's not going to fit in.
They
So
need
that
to
sort of
become
thing.
pillars of like purity.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. We're too good to be with the lowly dregs of San Francisco.
Right. And where everyone here is kind of looking down on him because he's from he's like big city. So, yes.
You almost just referenced the Scorpions with Big City Nights
That's my favorite song.
by the Misfits.
He's fucking lying. Don't listen to a word he's goddamn saying.
So the kid finds a little tiny spider. So yeah, we a itsy bitsy spider. And he's like, Dad, there's a spider. And his dad's like, all right, let's go find your mother and have her kill that spider. That's
Yeah.
the funniest line of this whole
Yes.
Yeah,
fucking
that
movie.
is pretty
Yes.
good.
So then they go inside. This is weird. This whole situation is weird. So they get the spider. The mom picks it up and says, oh, it's bad luck to kill a spider in the first night in a new house. Which I was like, I ain't never heard of that.
Never heard that.
She takes the spider and then puts it in their own barn.
Yep.
Dummy. Why would you put it in a place where you live? Like, just put it outside of the barn. What is that?
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta imagine it's still gonna find its way back to the barn.
I don't know. I chuck spiders all the time. Da, da,
Professional
da, da.
spider chucker, huh?
Yeah. That's actually
I
my
don't know.
superhero
I mean,
name. What I do is I go out in the dead of night and I have a utility belt filled with different kinds of spiders. When I see a mugger, I'm like, Gah!
that's like honestly, I don't know. Maybe it's just me being a little bit of a realist here. Michelle's like, okay, well, I'm gonna save this spider here. She grabs a cup, scoops it up, takes it outside, and shakes it off. And I'm like, that's gonna be back in the house in like 2 seconds. You realize that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I can squish it and throw it in the toilet, and it's gonna be gone. But nah, apparently she wants to, save its life. So.
No, my wife will scream and yell at me if I save it. She's like, kill it. Even, no, like anything. If it's a cricket, kill it. everything.
I can't imagine if you were to pick up a spider and then walk or chuck it a couple yards away from a barn for it to not be like, hey, that looks like a pretty good spot to like lay up a nest or like
Right.
have a spider web.
It's a very Night at the Roxbury kind of attitude, like getting thrown out of a place and wanting to go back in there immediately.
Wow.
Because if I got bounced, I'd be like, I don't want to hang out at your shitty club anyway.
okay.
All right.
So then the doc throws it in her face and he's like, it's bad luck not to make love in the first night of a new house. I was like, I appreciate what he did there.
I like that. He turned around and fucking spun it, right? Like
Yep.
a
Like
web.
Finishes his own jokes. He grows up so fast.
Every once in a while.
Big buck, no!
So this is also where they show the spider having sex with the alpha spider, correct?
Well, it's business time.
Yep. Which is a very awkward scene.
Yeah, they're like touching
It's
tenderly.
weird.
Yeah.
I feel like there should be some music going on in the background.
Right. Which we talked about it in the alpha spider should actually be a female, correct?
Absolutely.
I mean, come on. You look at ants, queen.
Absolutely. Should have been a female.
right.
Alien. And
Alien.
that was one of the things. Like aliens, I think I never heard of anybody say anything fucking sexist about the fact that the alien queen was a queen and not a king.
Correct.
Done deal.
All right.
Then we have
So,
Dr.
yep.
Metcalf. going
This is
back on
where
his
you
word.
meet the dick doctor.
Dick.
Prick
Dr. Dick.
Prick dick. And he basically says, I'm not going to retire because if I retire, I feel like I'll die.
Yeah.
After he moved his whole family all the way to this small town.
By the way, like, what the fuck?
Yep. So
I
he
would
gets.
I'm sorry. You're 75 years old. I will punch you square in the nose
Yeah.
right now.
Just do that 1-inch punch from Bruce Lee right in the chest. Like, oh, cardiac arrest. He died of natural causes. Sorry,
He
guys.
fell.
Yeah.
So he's all mad. He leaves. And he's. Harry's not parked in a correct spot, which makes him kind of a dick. But he starts getting a ticket for it, and this is where we meet the sheriff,
Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch. And he's kind of a dick to him, which kind of plays in later as being like a big
it's
city,
a reoccurring role.
big city boy.
right?
Yeah. And then we meet his neighbor, which we did not give her a name, right?
We didn't give her a name. She is so nice.
Yeah, she's not in it very long.
Margaret. Yeah.
Margaret
She
is
so very nice. Like I wish I had her as a neighbor.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Like throw me a party.
Party.
Throw me a party. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the word.
So the neighbor Margaret totally like slaps down the sheriff.
Yeah.
She rips up his
she's
ticket
like,
and
"Here's
throws it
your-
on the floor.
Here's your what'd she call it? Ticker tape parade.
Yeah.
And then she says that he's always been a bully, which is why she held him back in the 5th grade. And I was like, damn,
Yeah.
you're cutting deep, motherfucker. Just because a guy's got dyslexia don't mean you have to shame him in public.
Yeah, it's great. And so basically she says he'll be Harry's new first patient.
And I love that he makes the joke to his wife that, you know, he has one patient and he goes, or maybe every one of her body systems will be ravaged by disease. And he'll be like, I have 7 patients. That's some dark ass doctor humor.
It's a little bit of foreshadowing too.
Ooh, because she.
Oh.
Yep. I don't want to get into spoiler territory.
So
This is where the wife goes to the barn.
yeah, she walks up into the barn and sees webs everywhere, like
And
huge
she's-
webs.
And she's so artsy. Right?
Yeah, she's artsy, but she does nothing.
Oh
Like,
my god, let me just take photos of
those
all
webs
of this.
are so crazy that you should have been like, "What's going on?"
Yeah, like right off the bat, you're like, let's call it exterminator.
yeah,
911. You know what? I realized we fucked up, guys. We should have called her Lydia Dietz with that stupid fucking camera and her like, my whole life is a dark room. I'm going to take pictures of fucking spider webs and put them up in a family practice,
Oh.
weirdo. Anyway.
So Jeff Daniel, or sorry,
It's okay.
again,
You actually got the
Harry-
name right that time.
I know. Last time I
Jeff
said
Bridges.
Jeff
Jeff
Bridges.
Bridges. The dude.
So Harry goes and performs a physical on Margaret. Says she's healthy, so she then says, "Hey, I'm going to throw you a party, and you can meet new people and hopefully get some more patients."
I thought that was
And-
really cool.
Yeah.
It was a nice little olive branch.
Yeah.
Is that the term?
Exactly. Very good.
Yeah. Lucky guess.
So there's the part where the wife insists on him going up to the barn and seeing everything.
Oh
True.
yeah, that's
He
right.
says
that's
the
right.
whole thing about him being a baby in the crib and a spider crawled up
And
his
it's
leg.
very brief. Like if you're
yeah.
not paying attention to it, you're like, I have no idea why this guy's afraid of
Right.
this.
I only reference it because it's like the breadcrumbs, because at the end, of course, this is like the writing by numbers. You get the reference to it again where Bob's
Right.
crawling up his leg. So that's why I mentioned it. But
Right.
there are two weird jokes that I wanted to see if you guys thought were amusing. One, he's sitting there stoically, like reflective. He Bilbo Baggins toking on a pipe, watching little kids run by, and he's like, I wonder if my kids are gonna go catch fireflies. And the neighborhood kid's like, you want to blow up a bullfrog?
Yes.
I thought that was funny because also the kid bunny reminded me of the annoying ginger from Small Wonder who used to listen in through the door. Fucking keep your mouth to yourself, lady. And then he makes a Frank Lloyd Wright joke, who's like, it's like architecture humor in this movie. Did you catch that at all?
Mm-mm.
He says like, oh yeah, the spider that you saved was Frank Lloyd Wright. Like,
Oh,
you
that's
know
right.
what? I did
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
him say that, but I'm like, I have no idea. I have no idea who that was. So
I agree.
pretty great.
Chad,
architect.
did you catch who that was? Or
No, I didn't.
yeah,
You're welcome.
no, I feel like it was one of those things where like, you know, in Family Guy where they reference somebody and you're like,
Yes.
I don't know who that is, but apparently it's really fucking funny. So I don't know. Is that do you know
Yeah.
what
No,
I'm
I
talking
totally
about,
agree.
Actually, what was it? Oh, Rick and Morty. I remember watching this. I think it was with you, Michelle, and my wife. So the four of us.
Jake? And my wife.
My wife. And they make a it was Archer, and they made a Bartleby the Scribner joke, and I laughed so hard, and you all
And
three looked at
everybody's
me
like,
like, "What are
Who
you
the
talking
fuck
about?"
Are you talking?
I would prefer not to. It's so good. Anyway, that's the best obscure reference I've ever heard on TV in my life. Moving on.
So party ends. The wife wants to call and say thank you.
Before the party ends, there's a great joke.
Okay,
It's
go
a
for that
religious
joke.
Can I have it? Can I have
Yes.
it? Okay.
yes.
So the coach is talking about what? Oh, the bug. Anyway, the coach is talking about the coach reminds me so much of the coach from Little Giants who like rubs the milk on his kids'
I can
tendons.
see it. Yeah.
So
He's like, oh yeah, she's going to college. Oh yeah, what are you studying?
Jim.
Gym.
And then he says that his son is the star quarterback, and he says that he could throw the ball before he could even walk. And so the stay-at-home mom is like, oh, nepotism, and then the wife is like, no, we're Baptists.
Yes.
Yes. That's
That's
such a
good.
good joke.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
So Margaret, after the party goes home, she's just cleaning up her house, sends her cat outside. There's a close call with the cat almost getting bit by the
Love it.
spider.
She's like, looking at her like dead husband, like in a picture.
That was
yeah.
super sweet when she's like,
Yeah.
you would have had too much punch and be the life of the party.
Right.
Yeah. It kind of makes you a little bit like, no, you're just a little more sad when she goes.
Because it proves she's an innocent. She has no ulterior motive. She's just done something incredibly selfless, and she, is just her not sacrifice, but her death is something where you realize that like no one is safe. Kind of.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And it's also like taking away Harry's comfort.
Lifeline, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, she goes to turn off the light, and you could see kind of like the shadow of the spider in the the
Lampshade.
lampshade.
For a second there, I thought the spider was gonna go into her milk. It was
Yeah.
fucking gross. I
As
was
a
like,
vegan, that's double gross."
No, don't
Yeah.
do it.
But they couldn't do like the eating and drinking the spider twice.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
So they had to save it. But anyway, she goes to turn off the light. It drops down, bites her hand, dead. That's when Harry's wife wants to say thank you. She's like, I've been calling her all day trying to say thank you. Can you go check on her? Harry goes over, can see in the window because she's not answering the door.
Well, before he goes over there,
He picks up the cat.
Well, he's doing he's trying to work on his wine cellar downstairs.
Oh,
He's
that's
using a
true.
nail
That's
gun.
true.
This is where you establish that the whole underground of the house is rotten. They think it's termites, so that's how we set the breadcrumbs to get Delbert very closely
Yeah.
thereafter. So then he goes, gets the
Right.
cat, finds her dead, and
Bing bong boom.
boop. The doctor Metcalf is there, and he's like, "Well, it's a heart attack. Well, she had a bad heart." And then
Harry's
like,
no,
"Well, I don't
I don't
know."
think so.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know. She actually tested that you didn't need to give her any pills.
systolic, dolostolic, rah! I took her off the pills. And they're like, "What? You killed her?" And he's like, "No, I didn't." And so Metcalf is like, I'm going to see to it that the full long arm of the law goes right up your pony hole, Mr. Guy. And he's like, what?
He's such a fucking prick.
And
I love people like this because this is something that I really enjoy. I love evil characters who you can't do shit to because like he can't punch that old man because he will kill that old man.
He could. Absolutely.
Then you go to jail, dog. You want jail time for punching that old man?
No, but he's one that you just like push down a set of stairs or like wet his kitchen floor.
Or do the 1-inch punch like you said.
Right.
Oh, heart attack. I don't know what happened.
Oh, your arm tingles? I'd call you, an ambulance, but whoops. Call collect.
So Harry wants to do an autopsy on her just to make sure it wasn't
and they're like,
a heart attack.
No.
Right. And the sheriff and the old doctor kind of gang up on him and were like, nope.
She bit her fucking tongue off. And he's like, when was the last time you saw that in a heart attack? And they're like, nah, not happening.
Right.
Don't want to desecrate
and
the
then
dead.
also, I mean, to be fair, and not talking shit on small towns, but it does kind of have like a small town kind of vibe.
The cronyism,
right? Where they're like, oh, well, I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. Let's just write it.
learning from Yale.
Right, exactly. Let's write this off as it's a heart attack and you can fuck off.
Right. If you're so smart, why did you do the 5th grade only once?
So
that's so good.
This kind of leads into the funeral where the coach offers him a lifeline as well to go fondle boys. A very long, weird scene.
I thought they said that they were Baptist, not Catholic. Got him. Then you get the introduction of the hero of the film, Delbert, in his Bugs Be Gone hat. And he says that there's no bugs in the cellar, that it's just bad wood. And he says, she's like, well, what do we do? And he goes, well, you tear out the bad wood and you put in the good wood. And then he mentions one of my favorite parts of the whole movie is he says that he doesn't collect wine. He collects beer cans.
What do we call him?
I don't remember.
Nickname? I feel like we should just call
Chud.
him.
We should call him Bubbles.
I was going to say Bubbles' dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bubbles from, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's Trailer Park Boys. It's
he sounds exactly like him.
My name's Johnny Cash.
I don't know. This is what I think you should do.
Have you seen the Cart Boy, which started the whole thing?
No.
Yeah, Cart Boy is a film where it's Bubbles, and he basically is breaking shopping carts so he can return them and make money so he could pay for his cat who has like a deformity. And so it's Ricky and they basically let him do it at the end. It's very cute, but that starts the whole thing of Trailer Park Boys is one short film, which is a one-off.
That's fucking great.
And the guy who
Anybody
plays Bubbles
who hasn't seen Trailer Park Boys,
you got to
do yourself a favor.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, neither here nor there. But he says that his prized possession in his beer can collection is a 1974 with a misprint. And if you have as many fucking comic books as I do, you hear the word misprint and you just roll your eyes and go, "Gah! How could something being imperfect make it so valuable?" But then that's that kind of wabi sabi.
Yeah,
Chad
but
and I talk about that all the time.
Isn't that also like stamp collectors?
Yeah.
Aren't they like something that is fucked up on something?
Yeah.
It's so rare. They're like, well, this is worth like $500,000.
Yeah.
Coins too, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wabi sabi is a Japanese term for something that is perfectly imperfect.
I did not know that.
I love that term.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We
go to the gym. The coach mentions the crickets are up the wazoo in their town, and then Jeff Daniels is like,
That's
I don't
funny.
hear any crickets. And he's like, come to think of it, neither do I. Oh, well, let's go fondle some boys.
So he basically walks up to a giant line of boys and has them turn their head and cough. Doesn't
I
change
thought we were going to
gloves.
skip that part.
Just keeps going. No,
No, we're
it's
about to
too
get into
weird.
graphic detail.
Yeah.
Cough.
Did
Cough.
you guys see the extended cut where he sniffs his finger afterwards?
After each one. Oh.
Some dick cheese on that.
I like that he goes up to one of the guys. He's like, uncircumcised. Bold choice.
And after he does this deed, he goes and watches their game.
Does he do the dirt? Yeah. I was going to say, does he do the deed done dirt cheap? But then I realized why even bother with Chad?
Done doing the Jeep. Would you
When I was a kid, I thought that they said dirty deeds in the Thunder Jeep, and I thought it was about fucking. I thought it was about having sex in a car, and you call it the Thunder Jeep because you're like bringing the thunder, you know? I was a dumb kid. Fuck off.
No, you listen to what you think they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean what was this fucking shit we were listening to earlier? And I'm like, Donkey Park. What is that?
So good.
Anyways.
So anyway, a spider crawls into one of the helmets, and one of the players puts on the helmet. He gets a
hold on.
pass.
Can I? I'm sorry to keep cutting you off.
All right,
Jeff.
go for it.
I really like the way that they set this up because this is as similar to Jaws as you really got, where you're tracking this spider through this whole scene to get there.
Yes.
Right.
It's
right.
under
So
the
you have
bench.
it crawling to the helmet.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it goes under the bench. The girl jumps. It goes down. It descends. It goes to another one. It descends. It crawls by. It gets in the helmet. I mean, it tracks this whole thing, and it's a way of making something that's this itty bitty thing,
Right.
this looming threat for a few seconds of
Right.
really good pacing. And this was probably one of the more dramatic parts of the film for something that's ultimately kind of a throwaway. Because the kid, him dying, you're like, whatever.
Right.
But I thought that it made the whole scene have more gravity.
Almost every kill does that with this same type of filming technique.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
this is one of,
which is great. I mean, they have a buildup, which you should. You
Right.
shouldn't just have all of a sudden there's a spider teleported to a helmet that
Exactly.
a guy puts on.
which I think in modern cinema we have a problem with jump scares, where you don't have that pacing. You just have as
Right.
opposed to working your way through it, because that's one of the things that I always really like when you watch Michael
Well,
Myers walk in the background of a scene and then he's there when it counts. So you still get the jump scare, but you've had that tension. It's almost a release at that point.
Oh yeah.
Since when does a buildup that makes sense not make it in films? Right? I mean, all of a sudden somebody's there. Why? Because it scares you?
Right.
I don't know.
So yeah, the spider is in the helmet. He gets a pass thrown to him, and right as he's about to catch it, he gets bit in the neck, and he gets
Dude,
tackled.
he gets
hard.
fucking turned inside out. Like they're like, okay, hit this guy fucking hard. And like I'm like, did he really die?
But then at the funeral, they're like, "Oh, it wasn't even a hard hit." I'm like, "Ah, it was pretty hard."
What the fuck? Is this Pop Warner or Thunderdome?
And this is why I didn't play football.
Yeah. I didn't play because I had too many concussions.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You know who
Too
has a
many
lot of
concussions, lacerations.
Yep, pretty much all of it.
All of the above.
You know Frankie Muniz, the guy who was Malcolm in the Middle, has a bunch of strokes and concussions and stuff. Super sad story. You should look it up. That's true horror right there. The horror from within your own brain. Moving on, Dr. Metcalf says he doesn't want to do the autopsies. He said that he would be run out of practice. This is while he's on the treadmill getting his steps in, and this is pre Fitbit. So he's having to count them by hand. The spider goes up onto the treadmill. I love that the spider goes off the track.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it skips it skips him walking on the treadmill,
Right.
and then it falls to the ground. So again, the
Same
same
good
thing.
build up. Yeah.
Right. So it's the build up to the actual bite, and it's not just him just
Right.
okay, well we're just gonna throw him inside the shoe without the build
Right.
up, and then you're gonna see the bite. So
And Dr. Dick is a dick to his wife too,
Yeah.
because she's like, "Oh, are you jealous of the new doctor?" And he's like, "Now I've lost my count." And you're just
God
like,
damn it,
"God,
woman."
calm down."
And then he walks off and she goes, "Well, you need your slippers. It's cold." So he goes back.
so she actually ends up getting him back in
Yep.
the end there.
She kills him.
Die, motherfucker.
Yeah, but so what was interesting about this, Ro, is it's not a fully grown spider. So it's considered like an infant, right? And so there are two different types of spiders within the film, right? There's or maybe there's just two in general. There's the main big one, and then there's the small one.
These are
right?
hybrids, which is why they're smaller. Yeah,
Oh,
they're
okay.
just a normal house one.
So that would probably dictate on how fast it's going to kill him, right? As far as like how he was able to say, okay, call the doctor. Or
I think
no.
so, but I mean even the player though, the football player, died rather quickly.
Yeah.
So kind of
big
the same
problem that you
thing.
will run into is a lot of infantile venomous creatures secrete more venom and
Right.
toxin because they don't have the
That's true.
capacity to
Like
That's true.
snakes.
Exactly.
And then at the same time, think about it. Okay, well
Trouser
we have an older doctor in his like what 70s,
Right.
and then you have a high school football player,
Super healthy.
like in the fucking prime of his health, and he dies instantly.
But if you're talking about toxin traveling through the body, if his cardiac system is pumping a lot more quickly, that could circulate through his body
that's
faster.
And
true.
they both are physically active right before dying.
Well, and also the old man just says two things. He says call an ambulance, and then he says to call.
Well,
Harry.
he says I'm having a stroke and then to call. Yeah. So more than just, those two. But they also needed to say that to kind of be like, oh, you were a dick this whole time and you want to call that doctor
It's like a
to
little
save
bit
you.
of a redemption move
Right.
here.
It's kind of like,
Yeah.
bam.
Also, we cut through the bullshit because he says some damn thing bit me. So we know we're now dealing with a bite, as opposed to meandering around.
Right.
A specialist in the thing says it. Boom. We get it. We go. That's one of the things.
She also says, yeah, oh, it was
Right,
just a
and
spider.
and
He's
that's
like,
what
it felt
she
like a cougar.
Yeah, and that's what she says, and she actually mentions it to
Correct.
the police officers
Right.
afterwards.
So there's a long time period now we're gaining on this guy surviving this bite.
Yeah. Whatever. The coroner shows up. The coroner, he is talking with Jeff Daniels about the whole heart attack thing. Then they go to the actual body. They find the bite.
Right.
He says he wants to check them all. They get the exhumation order, much to the chagrin of Captain Crunch.
Yeah. This is the county coroner.
Correct. And
Yeah.
the county coroner even calls him and says, hey, just for the record, I still think it's a heart attack, but they did find a toxic substance in his body,
Right.
which could be. Then they do the
Okay, and they're
exhumation
like,
order.
oh, accidental poisoning
Correct.
or yada yada, whatever. So then that's when
So they
They move
call
on. Right.
Dr. Ponytail. He sends over his assistant to come help out because he can't be bothered. You guys thought that was an asshole move, and I was like, that's delegation. That's what that is. Then they do the autopsies. They find the bites on Margaret, on the kid, on a guy, and they go, okay, this is a spider that we're clearly dealing with. The assistant calls Atherton, and that's when everything kind of.
yeah, and then that's when Dr. Ponytail says, okay, but you need to find me a live specimen.
Yep.
Right, and that's when they go back to the house of Margaret.
Yeah.
Did you like the scene where he's staring at the wall and he can't sleep? And he thinks it's a spider on the wall, and he goes over and he starts to confront his fears, and he's going to squash it. And then you realize that it's like a coat rack that's next to the wall.
Yeah,
I
that's
really
good.
like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I thought it was a
I mean,
symbol, like I'm ready to do battle with this thing.
here's the thing. After watching that film, how many times did I do that? I did that at least 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
like throughout the day, where I was like, I got something on me. That's a spider. Nah, that's just your imagination. You're good. So it makes sense.
Jack, keep
Yes.
us going. Keep this train
Okay.
moving. We got to go to the next station.
So this is where they're searching Margaret's house. They find a dead spider, and they said, "Oh, here you go." Doesn't work because
Yeah.
all the blood's drained from a dead spider.
And,
which I didn't
where
know.
did they find the dead spider?
In Captain
In-
Crunch's
Yeah.
Ranch,
There
which my
we
wife
go.
jumped at with an
My wife.
she literally did an eek sound, which is awesome.
Which is a dead one too, which is even better.
Then it cuts to the coach's house, who's rushing his daughter, who literally just turned on the shower.
Yep.
I was like, that doesn't make sense.
Mm.
That's no bueno, not kosher. There's a spider on the curtain.
Yep.
He goes downstairs to the other bathroom. There's a spider in the toilet.
Oh, that's so awful.
That scene.
That is so
I told you
awful.
guys before, made me check the toilet.
It's actually happened to
So
me
many times.
before where I've taken a shower, a spider came down from the ceiling, landed on my face. I've been shampooing and I've literally grabbed the spider, thrown it on the ground, opened my eyes and see a spider.
Oh,
Happened to me real IRL.
wow.
It was fucking scary as shit.
Were your
Now
boobs
I'm like,
perky like hers?
and now every time I shower, I'm just like fucking eyes blood red with like soap and everything going into my eyes. I'm like, nope, not close my eyes. I'm good. Fuck that shit.
So it slides down her boobies, down her navel, about to hit her vagine, and she sees it and squelches and screams. Dad
Yep.
comes to save the day, and then they call Delbert.
Yes.
Oh, but before Delbert gets there is when they go back to Margaret's house. Jeff Daniels distracts the spider. The assistant gets it. The assistant assures him, you have a neurotransmitter that lets you overcome your fear. And he's like, I don't have that neurotransmitter. I liked that. It was pretty
Yeah,
fun.
that is pretty good. Absolutely.
Science.
Yes. And this is the long scene because Bubbles goes and checks the bathroom and nothing is there. He's like, oh, there's no spider there, even though his hand barely misses one. And he then leaves the house, sees it outside.
With his goddamn asbestos gloves.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that was fun.
And he shoots it twice with his special chemical that does absolutely nothing. And then he steps on one.
And that's the one that took fucking forever. And that's where Kutcher said, insects are my life. I've always liked them better than people.
Yeah.
And then, after he steps on it, one of my favorite lines in the movie. Yeah, that's right. I'm bad.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, oh, I got all organic stuff here. So then he just starts spraying all these spiders, and they're like, yeah, well, it ain't working.
Yeah. Ew, that stuff smells bad. And they're like not dying and stuff.
So this is also where they decide to go back to the coroner, correct?
Correct. And that's where you have Harry accusing Dr. Ponytail of knowing who Spy Dork was.
Yes.
And that's when you establish the whole
picture. Yeah. So they think the originating point is the coroner because that's where the body shows up. But as we know, the crow took it to Harry's house. So when they show up at the coroner,
I like. Hold on, sorry.
No, go for it.
They're like, oh, well, we think it's at the corner. So he tries calling him. He's
Yes.
like, oh, that's the wheel. He's like, the fuck are you talking about? He's like, he always leaves his phone off the hook whenever the Wheel of Fortune's on. You're like, oh,
Right.
Wheel of Fortune.
So the same sort of thing happens. They start making popcorn. The spider crawls onto a popcorn bowl, and it's just, they're barely missing it as, they kind of go sit down.
With him and Mimi.
Yeah, with him and Mimi. And Mimi, they show her hand grab the popcorn with the spider in it, and then they cut to Harry and them kind of coming into the house later, and they find them dead. And Harry's kind of inspecting.
And the spider comes out of the doctor's nose.
Yes.
It's a little cheesy.
Pretty, yeah. I mean,
fake as fuck.
It's good.
It's super fake, but
like
it's kind
he
of
looks plastic as fuck.
Well, that's the thing. Even
and
though he
she
looks
doesn't because she's really there, which is kind of funny. So
yeah, well, even though he's plastic as fuck, my wife still jumps. So you have to remember, like, this is a great tweener movie. To
Yeah,
introduce
absolutely.
television.
Well, he
Absolutely.
puts his face like close to his mouth to kind of try and feel the breath or whatever, and that's when it comes out. So it's kind of interesting.
I like it. I love it. I would like.
So, yes. Sorry. Then they walk outside and they say, "Give me a map," so that they could find out where all these attacks are, so they could triangulate the actual origin point.
Triangulate.
And they're like, "Oh, there's attack here, attack here, attack here. What's this in the middle?" And he's like, "That's my house."
Yeah, what did they say it was before, though? They said it was something. They're like, what is that, the cemetery or something? And then he's like, no, my house.
I think they said the corner, right? Because that's where they
No,
were.
that's a house. Who lives
Oh,
there?
yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, now they're all hauling ass to get to his barn.
And they get to the barn.
They get,
Right.
well, they,
No, the
so
doctor,
in between there,
Ponytail beats him.
in between there, they have Dr. Ponytail talking to Captain Crunch, and he's like,
Yes.
looking, or he's hanging out at Harry's practice.
Correct.
And he's like, hey, where are these shots taken? He's like, oh, that's at the barn where Harry lives.
Take me there right now.
Take me there right now. Right. So then they go there. And that before they get there, you have the famous scene where he like shows up to the barn and he like strums the fucking spider web like it's like a bass. Like boom, 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 boom. And he's like, what does he say? Dinner's here? Or
Yeah.
dinner's ready or
dinner,
something?
Yeah, dinner time, whatever.
Yeah. And then the spider's like, okay, cool. Right?
Yeah.
Like
He
right
thinks it's
after
gonna
he
crawl
does
right out and it
after he does
jumps
that,
on his
the
freaking
spider's
neck.
just like, all right, fresh meat. Jump.
Yeah.
Just jumps right on him.
This is like the big spider, the alpha, is kind of the jump scares.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
There's no telling where it's coming from. They're not doing spider vision. It just jumps out, bites, and then you're dead.
Which and this one in particular is a little more gruesome, I feel like, than others because it shows the close up of the fangs going into the neck.
Yes.
In
Right.
much more
And you
detail
see the
than-
blood seeping out. So that's kind of cool.
Then you have Delbert. He shows up and he starts spraying some of the smaller spiders. And then that's when you have
Well,
the doctor swing backwards and you see his face covered in spiders, like we talked about earlier.
Yes.
right. Yeah. Delbert busts out the private stock.
Right.
And then, so Jeff Daniels goes home and he finds the spiders everywhere. And it's amazing that it goes from no spiders visible to, oh my God, where are all these spiders coming from? Please stop. I can't move.
Correct.
Oh, right.
Without the egg sack hatching.
Exactly.
Because the egg sack ones are the ones that he's like, hey,
Right,
if
and
they
that-
hatch, it's going to take over
what's so
the town
amazing,
and
right,
the next
is
town and the
they
next
they
town.
show up to the house and they're like, okay, hey, everything's fine. All of a sudden, one spider shows up. And then they multiply, and then they multiply, and you're like, okay, so they were just like hiding, waiting for that very same moment for you to show up to be
Right.
like, all right, I'll attack.
Yes,
It seemed weird.
I agree. So yeah, they basically run into the house. There's spiders everywhere. Harry's trying to get his family out. And yeah,
Delbert puts on all of his full gear with his dual wield.
right.
Rock and roll.
They all go upstairs.
Yes.
They go into the bathroom.
Yep.
They go out the
onto
the
like,
window.
window
They
ledge.
go out into the window. He's the last one to leave, and they're like, "Come on, Harry,
Right.
why are you
But
taking
spiders
so long?"
fall from the
And
ceiling.
the spiders all fall from the ceiling.
So he can't go
climbing.
through.
They're all climbing down the side little lattice.
Right.
Then the guy falls down.
Yep.
The assistant.
The lattice breaks.
But
he
you're also
falls.
missing
Anyway.
the synchronized descent, which I think is really it's
right.
A cute little
3
effect.
perfect, like over the window,
I think
right?
it's actually 4, but yeah.
4?
They go and they completely block it. And he tries to go underneath him. He's like, "Ooh, this isn't gonna work." And I love that at the doorknob, like the spiders are coming out of the plate behind it.
Yeah.
I like
coming-
how they're coming out of the fucking
Sink?
and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah,
For sure.
Gross.
So basically, the bathroom is just covered in spiders. He has to exit out into the hallway. Finally gets the door open, and then there's spiders everywhere. One falls on his hand or his head. He freaks out, and then the stunt man,
Yeah.
who's
Very much a
clearly
stuntman.
visible as not Jeff Daniels, falls off of the second floor.
Yeah, he falls like through the railing.
Right through the railing, and then
Falls
the
through the
rotten
floor.
wood. So he just falls straight through all of that into
Which-
the attic.
Which is great
mean,
because
whatever it
they
is.
had already established that the floor and the what do you call it? Cellar.
Cellar, yeah,
the
was all
cellar
rotted.
is all rotted wood, so it makes sense.
Yeah, so he falls hard and looks around, and he's like, "There's no spiders," and he realized that the cellar is actually the den because they mentioned that previously.
Because spiders are cannibals, and so you don't want spiders next to the egg sac because they'll eat the younger ones. So this is why Bob is there. He's protecting all of the eggs, and he realizes he's fucked. He looks over, sees the giant pulsating white orb they referenced, and he realizes that everything has gone to hell.
Yep. So he grabs a bottle of alcohol and breaks it open. Starts.
Which I'm sorry, he has a bunch of wine.
Yeah, but then he
Yeah.
also had
Did he have like cognac or brandy? Okay,
It's brandy.
so that makes a little more sense because I was like, he's throwing wine, and I'm pretty sure that's not going to catch fire.
Yeah,
What?
he even mentions it out loud that it's a brandy of some
Okay,
kind, and then
that makes a little more sense.
yeah,
Right.
So cat and mouse with Bob.
right.
He breaks open the bottle and he starts pouring it on the egg sac, and he's gonna light it. Bob jumps out, scares the shit out of him. He falls. The wine rack falls on top of him. He's pinned down. He's throwing $100 bottles of wine at this fucking spider to scare it.
That's one thing where I actually feel like there's a little bit of comedic relief where
Right.
he's like picks up a bottle and he's like, let me hold on to that one,
Right.
and then he picks another one. Right? I thought that was kind of
Right.
cool.
Which is interesting because it's kind of the act of him throwing these things away that clearly means so much to him show that like what is valuable is your life
Right,
itself,
right.
not the items that you take, because you can't take it with you. So it's kind of a cute message. But then even while they're doing the kind of schmaltzy whatever, he still has the moment where he's like, I'm still materialistic as fuck.
right. Yeah, for sure.
So then what happens? Chord.
When he's trapped underneath the wine rack, it's kind of funny because he grabs the bottle and it's like dropping down, and he just punts it.
Yeah.
He smacks it. And it's like thump, and it just like flies across the room. That part was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. And so then we recreate the scene when he is an infant in his crib. He's laying down, and Bob starts crawling up his leg, and he's paralyzed, and he's very afraid. And so, he starts to overcome his fear. There's a little plank across his lap. When Bob gets onto it, he hits the plank, thus catapulting Bob into the fire at the side. And he's like, I got him. The motherfucker is dead. I've reaped vengeance on behalf of myself and Margaret, my nice neighbor.
And then Bob's like, hold on, motherfucker, I ain't done with you.
Comes out like squealing on fire, running right towards him.
Well, I mean, it can't be a hissing spider anymore. It's got to be a squealing
Yeah,
spider.
squealing.
It's not hissing, it's sizzling. Ha ha.
And so it jumps directly towards his face. He picks up the nail gun and fires a shot. It's a perfect shot. Drags or like it shoots, impales him, and he goes into the egg sac.
This is our second reference to Chud, because as he hits it, he says, nice shot to himself.
Yeah.
Thus hearkening back to, hey man, nice shot from Chud. So then the end of the movie, They move back to San Francisco. I feel like this is super tacked on. I don't feel like this is the
No,
original
you
idea.
don't need this.
No. Oh, sorry.
all.
A piece of trivia was I read that they actually wanted a couple birds to land on the swing set outside their house as if reference to birds, and Steven Spielberg was like, no, or Frank, or whatever. He was like, no, I just wanted to be its own thing. So that's why you end up with the San Francisco type
Exactly.
earthquake shake instead of like the birds.
I mean, I get it. Like it's them moving back to the city, but
Well, there's no kids. You can
it's
tell like,
it's still very forced.
Yeah, this is
Right.
one room. It was shot. You could tell this is only a couple takes, and you establish that, he's very possessive of his wine, and the whole joke is that, oh, well, there's earthquakes in California, but the other city was also still in California, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it almost
Yeah,
seemed
I
like
think
there's
so.
a weird amount of like possessiveness with him, where he's like, well, I can control everything within our
He
environment.
literally says, "Yeah,
And then
toasting the things you control."
and then she's like, yeah. And then the earthquake happens, and it's
Right.
like, bitch, you don't control shit.
That's because he's a 6 and his wife's like a 10.
It's true.
That's for sure. With those jowls, Jesus, I always feel self-conscious about my double chin. And I look at him, I'm like, life's not so bad.
We mention it quite often.
He's kind of got like a worm head, right? But anyway, if you look at him, you can see Earthworm Jim, but with a nose. Am I right?
Yeah, I could agree.
Okay, perfect. So that is the movie. Credits roll. It is over. Like I said, no post-credit scenes setting up Arachnophobia 2, Electric Boogaloo. Brian, do you think this film is a classic, a tragic, or a tragic?
Classic. Absolutely.
Chad?
Agreed completely.
I also agree, even though it is a carbon copy of Jaws.
Yep.
I will watch pretty much any carbon copy of Jaws. So much so that we have plans to do a future episode on Blades, which is Jaws with a killer lawnmower.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
So I will ask you kindly, if you don't mind, please go to facebook.com/slasherspod, at slasherspod on Instagram, at slasherspod on Twitter. If we ever decide to update that fucking thing, we have a subreddit. We have all these things as a means of getting you in contact with us and sharing our content and blah, blah, blah. Please enjoy it. We have the YouTube, everything. We're trying to branch out and create a means of justifying us hanging out even more often than we already do. So, yeah. We have a Patreon for our patrons. Even the lowest tier gets episodes a week early. There's the Goons letter. There's a bunch of other things. Just go check it out. Even if you don't want to see what we're doing and steal our ideas for your fucking podcast. I feel like 90% of the people who listen to our podcast are like, oh yeah, I have a podcast too. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about your podcast.
But
This
what do
is
you?
my time.
But what do you think about our podcast?
Yeah.
But let's get back down to the nitty gritty of it. What do you think? Doing
Yeah.
good?
Yeah.
So Brian, is that time?
It's that time. If you ain't watching them dying, you ain't really trying.
Enjoy killing time. Until next week.
And for Brian, for Jim Turn in the corner, for Chad, for myself, I am Jake, reminding you to go out there and do something you love. And remember that all work and no power play makes Jack a dull boy.